Our next workshop is a very special workshop featuring Devon Hughes from Elektron, and he'll be joined by two artists who will be playing Decibel. Cygnus is playing Decibel Festival tonight with Autecker, and John Tejada will be playing tomorrow at Numos. You should definitely go check them out. They're going to be talking to us a bit today about their creative process with Elektron analog machines. Give it up for John Tejada, Devon Hughes, and Cygnus.
Yes. All right, thank you very much, everyone. My name's Devon. I'm from Elektron Music Machines. Just a super quick history. We design and build hardware instruments in Sweden. We've been around since 1998. The video you saw there was for Octatrack, which is our dynamic performance sampler. So we specialize in both digital and analog hardware and DAW integrated analog hardware. So I am very, very pleased to have our guests, and I've got some questions for them. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and jump in. We have quite a lot to get through. So I'll start with John. John, what do you consider your musical starting point, and who are your influences?
Both my parents were classical musicians. I was born in Vienna, and I was just kind of exposed to music from birth. So and my experience was kind of like you did music every day. You woke up, had breakfast, and you practiced your instrument. So that was, I think, just kind of ingrained in me quite early on. So since both of my parents were classical musicians, I sort of just went on my own path. First it was sort of like the Beatles, and then I moved to the States, and it was a bit of like classic rock, and then hip-hop, early 80s New York hip-hop just kind of infiltrated my brain. And that was, I think, still a really big influence, because those are the kind of tools that we're still kind of fond of today: 808s, 909s, big polysynths, sure. Nice equipment, channels, everything. But that sort of misuse and just kind of manipulating sounds in a way that no one kind of did it before, and kind of happy accidents, I think. Yes. Whether it was hip hop or some kind of, electronic throbbing gristly thing or whatever, it's all kind of based in that experimentation, and that's just kind of what my ear always kind of gravitated towards.
I hear you. Thank you. How about you, Philip? What do you consider your musical starting point?
I grew up playing arcade games and spending a lot of time on the computer. I've always been a part of command line culture and video games and arcade games, and I feel like there's a kind of a spiritual crossroads between that and making music on electronic music boxes. And so there's a kind of commonality between what I'm doing when I'm playing video games, which is, at once it's nostalgic, but it's also, kind of spiritually liberating to do. And since I was a child, I've always had fun just doing weird stuff on electronic devices.
Excellent, excellent. So in terms of some early music that you were listening to, like music you remember listening to when you were younger? Things that you think may have influenced you. So I guess video game soundtracks, possibly.
Yeah, I listened, dude, like Mega Man had a really cool soundtrack. Mega Man 5. Throw your hands in the air if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what's up, dude, yeah. Oh, I like these people now. I didn't know about y'all before that, but I like y'all now. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, apart from video game music and, and the sort, my dad and my mom made me listen to a lot of Yanni and Enya and Sade. Well, I mean, I was a child, so I didn't have a choice, so I had to listen to what they were listening to, but it was real smooth. Yeah. It was like smooth jazz. There was this radio station in Dallas called 107.5, the Oasis. 107.5, the Oasis.
I grew up with
You did? Oh, you from Dallas? Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about, dude. Fuck yeah. Okay. Oh, can I cuss? Okay, yeah. Yeah. So.
Do you think that smooth sound has influenced what you feel like producing today?
Yeah, I like smooth sounds, smooth pads and stuff.
People don't often think about that when they think video game sounds, though.
Well, there's this game called, what's this game called? It's called Front Mission 3 for the PS2, and it has a really smooth soundtrack. It's kind of like, it's smooth. It has like nice chords, and it has like saxophones and like 808 beats, and it's smooth.
All right, excellent. So now, in terms of the music that you listen to today, what non-electronic music do you guys listen to today? How about you, John?
At the moment, I'm reliving a lot of early punk that I missed, and even metal, and then just sort of synth nerdery, Conrad Schnitzler, and just people who just happy accidents, exploring, and stuff that I missed that is now just kind of easier to instantly just check it out. So I've been kind of on a very retro binge.
Do you think the non-electronic music you listen to today influences your current productions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's rhythms and melody, same thing to me, really.
Okay. How about you, Philip?
I like Sun Ra.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned you like Sun Ra. Yeah, that's what's up, man. I like you guys more than I did previously. Yeah, man.
Cool.
Sun Ra is cool, and I like some death metal and speed metal, but that doesn't really influence my. I don't know. Death metal to me is kind of like it's like something you do to yourself.
Yeah.
Y'all get it?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I got it for sure. Okay. What about non-musical influences on your work? Because it's not, we don't, our creative inspirations don't just come from listening to other music. I mean, we input a lot of things. John, what sort of non-musical influences, for example, food, design, interpersonal connections, architecture?
Yeah, just mood in general, I suppose.
Sure.
And then the right mood that sort of sparks creative flow. Yeah, same as everybody else, I think.
Excellent.
I've never quite tried to figure it out, so I'll think about it.
Perhaps it's better not to figure it out.
I might have an answer at the end.
Okay. If it comes to you, just blurt it out. All right, Philip.
I like doing meditation. I like spirituality. I'm not a very religious person, but I believe in something bigger than myself. And so sometimes I have feelings about that, and I get on the Elektron boxes and I make songs about it. I have, I don't know if I brought them. No, I put them in my bag. I have these cool lotus meditation beads that often I'm twirling around in my hands while I'm coming up with a cool patch. So I like spirituality and thinking about spirituality.
Absolutely. So the more you cultivate a spiritual connection, the more the bandwidth opens for inspiration?
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know if God is real, but sometimes when I'm on the machines, I'm like, maybe that's a piece of the pie. They got it.
That's fantastic. All right. Let's go ahead and start to, I want to take our audience into your studios. So, John, what is your studio like today? And how did it look before? And are there any instruments that you've kept around since day one?
Yeah, I still got my first synth, which was a Casio CZ101, which I still think is great. Got it for $100 in 1991 at Guitar Center Hollywood.
Was that new?
No, I'm not that old.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure about the release date of the 101, but
it wasn't brand new.
Okay.
In a way, I've kind of come full circle. There was. Now I'm going to seem old because back then we were walking through the snow 20 miles. We didn't have these laptops and things. But yeah, it's true. So you kind of made the best of what you had, and things were really limited, and that's kind of become a cliche. But there is something to kind of spontaneity and making the best of what you have. So that's kind of like my very kind of happy time, and I think kind of coming back to embrace that's something that I still work with today, and sort of limitless options kind of stress me out, and I've even kind of downsized recently just because everything kind of has to have a specific job for me. So early on, I met up with my closest friend, Arian Leviste, in '91, and he had, I had a CZ101 and a Juno 60 and Sonic EPS, which was our sequencer at the time. He also had Studio Vision on a Mac. He had a 106 and a 909 and a HR16. So just kind of pulling our resources together. And then I think everyone I know, we kind of all dumped all that, and when digital things were happening, and it was like, oh great, I can do this all now with my laptop, and then something was kind of missing after a while.
Yeah,
so
we'll get into that.
there were some things that I kept. Some things weren't totally worth keeping. So then once this kind of became a job, then it was really nice to be able to buy some nice instruments again. And that's just kind of how I think of them, like they're instruments, not emulations of them. And again, that's just like my happy place, because when I started in those exciting times, that was kind of what I was working with, and that's just what I know, really. So it took a really long time, kind of full circle, to come back and embrace that, and to kind of embrace things that might seem easy to me, and not make everything such a challenge. And a lot of friends, even a lot of friends that I really look up to, like after 20, 25 years, are kind of having the same experience. So I guess it's just all kind of part of the ride. And then now just kind of settling in on the tools that I find are the ones for me, which, as your question asked, just kind of include a little bit of the old stuff. I've got the Rolands that are still very dear to me. I've got Elektrons. I've got a Eurorack system with some bits. I've got a Code Poly and a couple other weird things. A SH7 that's part of the Roland team. Yeah, so everything just kind of has a function and is just very, for my workflow, just very easy to play around with.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Philip, how did your studio start out, and where is it now?
Oh shit.
In a nutshell.
It was. Oh man, I've had so many. I've had a lot of things. I've had a lot of gear. Yeah. Now we'll go back like 5 years. So I had the Acid Lab Miami, and I had a mono machine, and I had an Naka track, and I was making a lot of tracks with that, and using some computer synths to kind of accentuate those tools. And recently, like last year or the year before that, I got a TR-8. Whenever that came out, I was excited about it. And then I sold that, and I got a Rhythm, Elektron. You're supposed to clap, and whoop, this is an Elektron thing. Yeah, there we go. So I have one of those now, and I have that, and the Elektron Analog 4, and the MPC 500. I have a 1000 too, but for touring, the MPC 500 is smaller. Right. And that sequences my Waldorf Blofeld, and I have it's just like stuff.
We can definitely get into the current live setup. I'll ask you about that in a little bit. So yeah, it sounds like both of you have quite a collection of hardware, including the Elektron boxes. John, what specifically do the Elektron boxes bring to the table, pun intended, in the studio, in the creative process in the studio specifically?
I think each box, studio or live, they just they're each their unique creative place, and the thing that kind of pulls them all together is the parameter locks, which also being a lover of trackers more recently than I didn't start out that way, but that idea to very quickly be able to change every parameter by just kind of holding a step or typing pattern commands on a step, essentially the same thing. And I mean, it's easier on an Elektron, just hold it down and do stuff. But to even change waveforms or filter types, or if you're working with a sample, to change that all per step without having to do much more than that, it just becomes really, really powerful after a while. And
the workflow doesn't stop.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Thank you. How about you, Philip?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
It's what sort of things do the Elektron boxes bring to the table in terms of the creative process in the studio?
Oh, they're just fast. It's fast. There's so when you're making music of any kind or doing any kind of embarking on any kind of creative enterprise, whether you're doing photography or video or pornography or whatever. You typically, the people who laughed are the people who do porno in the audience. Sorry. You want there to be the smallest amount of perceptual and temporal barriers between your thought about what you want to do, what you want to hear, and the actual product, right? So with Elektron boxes, you have them MIDI'd up. You wake up at like 1 p.m. because you're lazy and you don't have a job. You go into the studio and you turn on your boxes, and then you make, you're all that. You're scum of the earth. I'm just kidding. You turn them on, and then you open up an empty pattern, and then you have some ideas. You make a sound, you sculpt a sound, or if you saved one, you use that, and you make a track, and then then your girlfriend calls you and badgers you about how bad of a boyfriend you are and all that kind of stuff. Basically, you don't have to. You're not distracted by the internet while you're using it like you would on a laptop.
Right on. So we're not guilty of that. So speaking of using Elektron boxes in the studio, we've asked the artists to each select a track that they've produced that involved an Elektron hardware. So we're going to go ahead and play the first one, play the track from John, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Then we'll go ahead and play the track from Philip. So let's start with John Tejada's track. Sorry?
This is a surprise to me.
Oh, hey.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, so John, what's the name of that track?
That track's called "The End of It All."
Okay, and so what are the main ingredients happening in that track?
That was a machine drum that was running internal sounds. It was also sequencing some Vermona drums. One of the features I love about the machine drum is if you want, you can have 16 external MIDI tracks, even if you don't want to use the machine itself. The main riff and the little bells and whistles that were about to come in are all mono machine. And the bass line ended up being a Swayman S1, but was originally also in the mono machine. And again, the mono machine can do pseudo-polyphonic 6-track external MIDI sequencing, which is another thing I really enjoyed. So there were loads of tracks at the time, like Sweat on the Walls, Mono Mono, and End of It All, that were all really just machine drum and mono machine.
You get serious with the mono machine when you're in poly mode and you're using the chord, what's it, the ensemble one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so sick.
Many stacked oscillators, for sure. Let's go ahead and do Philip, aka Cygnus's track, please.
I forgot which track this is. Oh, okay, this is good.
that one called?
That track is called, okay. You can buy that, it's on my Bandcamp page, cygnus@bandcamp.com. That track is called Unarians Part 4, and that track started out as just, that chord that you heard in the background, that's all that is in the bass, that's all analog 4.
Okay.
A lot of people think that that's just a 4-voice monophonic synthesizer. No, you can do a lot with that. You can use that as the basis for a track, and so that was just that and the drum machine. And I played that for some people, and they're like, how'd you get all that space? How'd you fill all that space? I'm like, you gotta be smart, like me.
So now with both of these tracks, are these both tracks that you guys perform live?
I don't perform that track live.
Why not?
It's a little slow in BPM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a context issue, but you theoretically could bring out the boxes and jam it live.
Oh, that's all I'm doing for the next month with Autechre. Yeah.
Awesome. We will mention that as well. John, do you bring that track out live as well? End of it all?
Yeah, it's gone through many versions, and then after 10 years, I finally decided to stick out a second version. But yeah, it's fun to now I'm using the rhythm in the Octatrack, and I kind of rebuild some of the tunes just from memory without listening to them, and that kind of freshens them up and makes them fun to play.
Right. So moving into your live setup, what does your live setup look like right now? In a nutshell, why have you designed it as such?
It still changes a little bit depending on where I'm at and if I can drive somewhere or if I can borrow something.
Sure.
So what I've done is instead of using a synth live or the mono machine or analog 4, which I was using for a while, I've decided to dedicate the Octatrack just to synthesizers. So I kind of pull from whatever I have at home or wherever else, and I just kind of can do something a little more maybe layered and then processed and whatever, and then just kind of feed the Octatrack full of things. And then now the way I've kind of freed it up is the rhythm side isn't tied to specific songs or patterns, so it is more kind of jammy than I've ever really done, which makes it a lot more fun for me. So at times I'm using the rhythm with, again, things kind of collected from my place, or sometimes I'll just bring out 909 and keep it like really simple. Then every song has the same sounds, but there's just something really satisfying about a real 909 on a PA. Or last weekend I brought the 808, or can bring them both or whatever. But it just that setup frees me up. And then also the Octatrack has external MIDI tracks, so if I want to add another kit to maybe just dedicate to bass lines, or one idea is to work with visuals and then output MIDI data from the Octatrack's MIDI tracks, and then that can syncopate visual cues, and so everything can be run from the two electrons, no matter what is kind of connected
up. Fantastic. How about you, Philip? What's your current live setup looking like?
Current live setup is analog rhythm. Did I pronounce that right, Daniel? Analog rhythm or rhythm? Rhythm.
You can. It's rhythm is fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm using that, the analog 4, MPC 500 for sequencing, a Waldorf Blofeld, and that's it.
Awesome. So, John, you were mentioning that in a live context, one of the things you appreciate is the ability having two separate devices, and so that you can mix and match. You can sort of combine things that you wouldn't normally combine, because you could have a different pattern going on one box and going on the other box. And then, of course, the MIDI connectivity with any other extra peripherals. What do the Elektron boxes bring to the table in a live situation for you, Philip?
They're fun. It's actually fun to be there. It's it's actually good. It's actually worth a shit. Is that enough? Is that a good answer?
That's kind of the main for live performance. And another thing happened just a few weeks ago where the whole sound team was kind of impressed because we lost power at an outdoor thing, and as soon as they got it up, the machines just go bling bling, and we're ready to go. And they were like, "Whoa, you're ready?" It's like, "Yeah, it's ready."
Yeah, it's fast. Like I said earlier, it's fast. You can make changes. I make changes to a set or a kit during my live set, and I hit yes and then kit, and I save it, and that's it. That's it. I don't have to think I like how Elektron, you don't have to think, you don't have to use your brain, you don't have to get sucked up into your mental space. The machine is there, it's your friend, and it loves you, and it's going to help you make music and do cool stuff, and it loves you.
That's one thing I was interesting to me is I feel kind of like you always kind of hear of traditional bands kind of working out songs before they go record them, and I think these days, whether you have a band or you're electronic, don't kind of see that so much. So what I've been doing now is like while I'm loading up content into the machines, and like I said, things aren't exactly tied together. There are some songs that I've been playing for 6 months, and then it becomes, and like you said on the Octatrack as well, like if you never reload your set, everything just saves. So if you're making patterns on the fly or it changes, and then saving kits in the rhythm or whatever, then at the end of 6 months, it's completely mutated, and then it's like, oh, I think I'm going to record this now, which has been a really neat, new, interesting process for getting out of that loop of like, okay, like let's look at a screen and just kind of whatever.
It also feels really good when you're using Elektron boxes. You all saw that video, right? So like obviously the people that made the boxes actually like they actually have a personality, and they're actually like dudes and people just like y'all, right? So it's different from from buying a piece of equipment from like some random faceless corporation, and everything looks the same, Elektrons, they have personality. That company has personality. Daniel's really cool. Where's Daniel? He's so cool. Look at him. He's a handsome person too. He's a very handsome Swedish man. So basically, that for
from him, the handsome Swedish man. So clearly the reason to buy.
you feel better buying from a company which is like, and when you're using it, like look at it. Like look at that. Like someone cool designed that, right? Yeah, there's someone who's, yeah.
So what you're saying is there's a bit more personality that goes into a hardware product because of a commitment to a fixed range of features.
Yeah, when someone who's like you made the thing that you're using because you're like, oh yeah, I want that to happen, and it's pretty cool, and thank you.
Thank you, I should say. So how about, so let's kind of talk more about just hardware in general versus software. So you guys have both been through a software type performance situation. Philip, have you ever brought a laptop out on stage?
Yeah, I was performing on a laptop for a while because I thought it was a little bit easier, but I just thought it was a little bit less engaging as having pieces of equipment on stage.
Sure. So not really specifically focusing on Elektron products per se, but just the benefits of performing live with hardware. It's fun. Could you go a little bit more into what about the fun aspect?
So, okay, this is going to be deep. So, tactile touch and points of interest are two things that, and you ask any neuroscientist or a neuroendocrinologist, points of interest and tactile touch are pretty much what caused us to evolve in the way that we did. So, it's better to be like this and that whatever, and twisting around and doing all of that versus that, probably because this is more like, I don't know, this is more similar to being chased by a cheetah. You know what I'm saying? They get it. I'm done, they get it.
All right. They got it. Okay, and what about sound?
Sounds better. Well, I don't know, some DSP, some software sound DSP engines are like, okay, I don't know, I'm stupid.
What you're saying is it's less important to you about the sound than about the actual interaction with the machine.
I think it sounds better.
Okay, all right.
And I think it is, again, going back to the point, I think it's an instrument, not an emulation of one. And it just, are you going to play piano or do you want to play a kawaii thingy, Rompler thing? Well, there you go.
Yeah, analog sounds more like electricity. Digital sounds more like a Xerox machine. It sounds good. I mean, there's no bias, but analog is more like electrical, more.
It seems definitely to be more of an interaction. The motivation for using hardware is more of an interactive motivation rather than a motivation based on just the sound.
Yes.
Okay. Could you share with us some, I'll start with you, John. Were there ever any major turning points in your career as a musician? Not just, you can either choose like professional career turning points or even just an artistic turning point. Was there ever a major shift and why?
It's really hard to think of. I don't know, it's just like a long journey that had some good times and some bad times and still going, luckily. So I'm just happy enough about that.
How about early gigs? Can you share with us some early, how were early gigs like in terms of the types of venues and the environment and your setup?
It's really all hit and miss. It could be a great one followed by a really bad one, and it's just really random. I mean, I kind of did start my own kind of live career far away from home, because at the time I wasn't connecting with the local scene. So in a way, it took me like, I don't know. I started traveling internationally in in 97. Again, not that old. And yeah, it took a good 10 years to kind of just make my way kind of back home in a way. And now I'm really appreciating that, and I really like being closer to home, and I like that I've kind of stuck it out here, and that people are generally really excited about music here. Yeah. But then again, it was all just, you couldn't really, if I'm in a mood, I can definitely go on about something, but it can be really good one night at the same place, really bad the next, and same with cities or venues that are really famous. I've had terrible nights at places that are super famous. So and it just, yeah.
What contributes to, if you have like a gig that you remember as just fantastic, like that was an amazing gig, what are the components for you that make a great, memorable live performance for you personally, not for whatever the audience might perceive?
I suppose that has a bit to do with my mood, of course, which gets me to kind of be in that zone. And then if, generally I like to, at least of my perception, I like to kind of go a little wilder than expected in a way, or maybe from what people know from my recorded works, maybe get a bit more tweaky with things. Sure. So I think my experience has been like when people respond to something kind of unexpected instead of being turned off by it, that's when like the kind of energy keeps feeding, and I get encouragement to like take it another step and another step, and if that builds, that's great. But then in those situations when you're like, oh, I've got the best idea, and everybody just goes out for a smoke, then like it happens. So it's all part of the ride, and it happens, and it happens the other way too. So
you're saying in live performance, there's definitely a risk that things could fall flat.
Oh yeah, for everybody all the time. I think no matter what you do. So
it depends on how much flexibility. It sounds like you're really leaving yourself a lot of flexibility in a live context.
I think it works both ways. Even if you're like super pre-programmed, okay, then you don't have room to move. But I think if you, meaning like whatever accusations, pressing play, whatever you want to say, but in that case, you don't have very, very many places to go. But if you're completely open, then it can be maybe even more stressful, because now you're wondering where to go, and it's not going well. And if you go the wrong direction, it makes it, at least in your state at the moment, it could be even worse. But I think at the moment, what's been really fun with the way I have actually the setup now is I'm actually having a lot of fun. So if it doesn't go well, that's fine. I got another show. So that part of it has kind of eased, and I feel like I'm at least enjoying it. I'm honestly enjoying it. So if it doesn't work, that's all right. And if it works, even better.
Nice. That's great. Philip, what are the ingredients of a gratifying live show for you?
I like, the sound system has to be good. It doesn't have to be superb. It doesn't have to be the best sound system ever, but it has to be good, and the sound guy has to know the sound guy or girl has to know what they're doing, and that's basically it. These things are all dynamic. Every show is different. No two shows I've played have been the same. Even
What contributes to that? That no two shows are the same.
It's the developmental thing, I suppose. I mean, I always go out and I talk with people, and if something, if they, can I tell you the truth? I don't understand the question.
Oh, okay. Oh. No, that's fine. Let's see. In terms of limitation in tools, what does creative limitation in tools mean to you? does that contribute to anything? Having limitations to the functionality of tools, does that do something for your creative state?
Not really, because I mean, no matter what I use, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be dope. So I mean, I always win in any scenario. Yeah.
Is there anything lacking in terms of musical tools? Just right off the top of your head, anything you'd like to see realized? We only have just a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I do.
What would you like to see realized in terms of hardware musical tools?
So pattern length. Let's talk about pattern length. Okay, 64 steps is great. It's fantastic. That's better than the average. You get like just 4 or whatever on one of those Korg boxes. But I need 128. Okay, it's 2015. I need 128 per pattern. I don't want pattern chaining is fine, but I'd like to be able to have that in one pattern. And I'd like to be able to choose how long one pattern is. I don't want to have to pattern chain. Stop making me do that now.
That's other than if that's all that's required.
Daniel, did you hear what I said, Daniel? I know where you live.
All right, that's I mean, out of all possible musical tools that could be created, if that's the last thing that's limiting you, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
John, I know it's a big question, we're almost out of time, but just off the top of your head, musical tools, hardware, software, or are you in the sweet spot?
I'm really happy at the moment with, even scaling down recently, so I'm in a good place. There's always, what's that?
You brought your setup here.
So the show and tell for the live roller case, I just figured this out last night, actually. Which probably everyone else has figured out long before. I'm always scared of checking things, but this will make it a bit easier. But this case holds my rhythm and my octatrack and my space pedal. So I'll kind of.
Oh, do you have them on top of each other?
Yeah, apparently awesome. It's safe. So we'll find out at the end of the trip. Space pedal, little pick and pack foam, which hopefully works, and. Here's the octa, and then underneath.
Oh, they need to see that. So that's awesome. There's like a glass.
Well, that's the cover for the boxes. So I don't know if you can see. It'll probably all fall out. But cover on one, no cover on the other. Pedal here, maybe something different later, or cables. But that's.
And you can take this to any country because of switching power supplies that we include.
He can't take it to North Korea.
Okay.